It's a vision of a carbon-neutral future rising out of a city-state paved with petrodollars. Just outside Abu Dhabi, this new enterprise will take advantage of another of the Persian Gulf's natural resources, the sun. This will one day be Masdar City, which means the source, and it's scheduled to go online in a few years as an eco-city housing 50,000 residents. It'll cost an estimated $22 billion. Joining us to discuss the future of an oil-based economy is Hélène Pelos, Director General of the International Renewable Energy Agency, which will one day be based at Masdar. And we also welcome Majid Jafar, Executive Director of Crescent Petroleum, a privately owned oil company based here in the UAE. Thank you both for joining us. Hélène, first, can I ask you, why has IRENA been based here?
Actually, it was a competition, and I think the UAE did a very good campaign, and they explained about the commitment of moving from, a country based on oil to a country based on renewable energy. They had that commitment of getting 7% renewable energy in that portfolio in Abu Dhabi, and they
by when?
By 2020.
Realistic, achievable?
I think it's yeah. I think they will get there. They will get there.
And what do you think, Majid? This whole notion of renewable energy, is that achievable? Is it realistic in our lifetime?
Well, Christiane, I actually think that looking at renewable as something separate from traditional forms of energy is the wrong way of looking at it. And it's actually all about energy sources and the energy mix and the gradual evolution from where we're at now in a fossil fuel dominated world, which will continue for some decades to come, into a world using various sources of energy. And I think Abu Dhabi and other energy leaders, energy producing leaders, by taking that step and planning ahead makes perfect sense, because they're already leading in current forms of energy supply, and it makes sense to be planning ahead.
It makes sense, but there are also absurdities associated with it too. Abu Dhabi, the UAE, is one of the most energy voracious beasts in the region. I mean, look, huge desalination, all the air conditioning, all the construction, all that's going on. Is that not a conflict as you seek to try to reduce the carbon footprint here?
I think it's not a conflict, it's about a vision. It's basically the signal to have the headquarters of IRENA here in Abu Dhabi. It just means that you cannot rely only on energy of the past to power our future. So we need to get there. That's the vision, that's the goal. But obviously there will be different steps. And I agree with Majid, it's about transition process.
Is there a place that you can look at now and tell us it's worked or it's working?
Definitely. There are some places in Denmark where you have already, entire community totally powered by renewable energy. So 100% renewable energy, that's there. And some other cities, and for example, take Freiburg in Germany, they are getting there. You have special, neighborhood totally powered by renewable energy. It's not just about utopia. It's about, delivering the future.
What's exciting, though, about the Masdar City concept, it is starting from scratch and building a 21st century city, not based on 20th century assumptions of cars and fuel and power, but starting from scratch and saying, given what we know now, and given the challenges of global warming, how would you design a city from scratch? And Abu Dhabi, instead of doing it on a small scale in a lab, is attempting to do it on a city-wide scale, and the benefits and the learnings from it could actually affect the whole world.
And from what I've read, it seems to be going back to the traditional models, not big wide boulevards, but small sort of shadier lanes, not huge high-rises, but lower. Tell me some of the characteristics that will make it an energy-sensible place.
I think you have to have a look at where are you going to have the air coming here, some water also to cool down the city. So I think you're totally right. It's also looking back into the past, but also with the latest technology to do that. And I think it's very important, again, that Masdar, we bring that to life and we show that it's feasible, possible, and then it could be duplicated in some other places in the world. The Chinese are going to build up, several cities of millions of people. If we have a model which works, then it can be also expanded over different places in the world.
Do you think you can expand this kind of model to China? I mean, you just talked about cars, and I think you said there's going to be something like 1 billion cars in the world in the distant future.
That's right. We can't confuse the fact that we're still in a fossil fuel dominated world, and that will last for some time.
How long?
And it's a transition.
It's a
I mean, as I said, it is a transition.
But how long do you think fossil fuel will dominate the energy?
In, say, 2030, which is the timeline people are using for planning,
so about 20 years.
It will still be dominant, and oil will still be the dominant fuel. But there is a transition towards natural gas and other sources, renewable sources. But we will still have to add, between now and 2030, the equivalent of 2 Saudi Arabias in oil production capacity. And that's not going to be easy. Having said that, energy demand is driven by technology and economics and scale.